Chapter 1 Tanaka's own light is like jade. Linyangfang City. The sky has just dawned, and the fog has not yet dissipated. The whole city is shrouded in a layer of hazy white air that is as thin as a veil. A small courtyard surrounded by blue-gray stone walls. The yard is about 3 feet long and 2 feet wide. Most of the area is gray-black soil, leaving only a narrow bluestone path in the middle. In the gray-black soil, some low-grade spiritual plants were planted. Under the silent moisture of the fog all night, the spiritual plants glowed with vitality, lazily stretching their tender green branches and leaves. With a creak, a stone house at the end of the bluestone path opened, and a boy came out. The boy was 16 or 17 years old, dressed in a gray shirt, tall, with a handsome appearance, and bright and clear eyes. It was exactly Lu Zhan who had traveled here for quite some time. He was originally an ordinary young man on the earth. He never thought that he would wake up and inexplicably occupy the body of this young man, becoming an insignificant spiritual planter among all living beings in the practice world. After the initial confusion and fear, Lu Zhan gradually adapted to his new identity. Standard start, no father and no mother, alone, ordinary aptitude, second-level Qi training, with years of accumulation, rented a spiritual field in Fangxi, planted spiritual herbs, and worked hard in this perilous environment. The practice world survives. The thin mist blowing in the yard made Lu Zhan, who had just woken up, suddenly sober up a lot. He surrounded the spiritual plants and observed them carefully. There are 20 or 30 spiritual plants, each with a certain gap between them, about a foot high, with slender leaves, with dots of pale white fluorescence on them, dotted like stars in the white mist. These are Lingying, a first-level spiritual plant, which is relatively easy to grow. When mature, it can be used as a material for refining several healing elixirs, and it is widely used in the practice world. Besides the Yingying grass, there are 2 trees in the yard, one is the eclipse tree, and the other is also the eclipse tree. Eclipse moon tree is a first-order spiritual plant. Under Lu Zhan's careful care, it grows well, and it is a bit taller than his head. Among the emerald green leaves, there are dozens of hook-like silver-white fruits looming. These fruits are called eclipse moon fruits. When they first formed, they looked like a crescent moon. Slowly, the crescent moon gradually became larger and became a full moon when it matured. Ripe eclipse moon fruit can be taken directly, which can slightly increase the aura in the body of low-level Qi practitioners, and can also be used to refine precious medicines such as Peiyuan pill. Eclipse moon tree is slightly higher than Lingying grass in terms of difficulty of planting and rarity, and Lu Zhan puts the most thought into it. Both kinds of spiritual plants are growing quite well, but there is a trace of worry on Lu Zhan's face. He walked quickly to the west side of the yard, squatted down, pinched the leaves of a sprig of firefly near the stone wall with 2 fingers, and carefully turned the back side over. As expected, there were strands of light black thin lines on the back of the leaves. If Lu Zhan was not careful, the black lines as thin as hair would be extremely difficult to spot. Compared to yesterday, the number of thin black lines is significantly higher. Lu Zhan secretly contrasted in his heart, looking at the Lingying grass eroded by thin lines, he couldn't help but sigh softly. When he was taking care of Lingzi 2 days ago, he happened to find that there was something wrong with a Lingying grass near the stone wall. After searching for a long time, he finally found these thin black lines on the back of the leaves. The thin thread seems to be integrated with the spirit firefly grass, sticking together tightly, it is extremely difficult to separate. Lu Zhan is just a low-level spiritual planter, with ordinary background and poor relevant knowledge, so he doesn't know what the black thin line is. There was no way to prescribe the right medicine, so in desperation, he had to use the aura in his body to carefully separate the black thread from the back of the leaf. I exhausted my spiritual energy and mind to manage to clean it up, but when I went to observe it the next day, the thin black lines suddenly appeared again, and the number was increasing day by day. According to this trend, in a day or 2, this spirit firefly will be occupied by thin black lines, and it is likely to spread to the nearby spirit fireflies. Thinking of this, Lu Zhan was worried, and stayed where he was. He has considered pulling out this spirulina, so that the spirulina near it will not be stained with black thin lines. After weighing it for a while, he cancelled this idea. After all, the origin of the black thin thread is unknown, and Lu Zhan doesn't know how to erode the spirit firefly grass. It's good to have an effect after pulling it out. Tears. For the current plan, I have to go to Fangxi to find an orthodox and experienced spiritual planter to help solve it. I finally saved up some spiritual stones. I originally planned to pay the rent for the spiritual field in 2 months. Lu Zhan is just a casual practitioner on the 2nd level of Qi training, and he has no way to fully own a spiritual field that belongs to him. The small spiritual field in the courtyard was rented by him from a mid-level monk who practiced Qi in Fangxi, and he needed to pay a lot of spiritual stones every month. In the next period of time, I can only tighten my belt to live. He stood up with a determined look. After the spiritual plant matures, it can be sold to shops and monks in the square city. In addition to the rent and daily cultivation needs, there will be a little left over for the spiritual stone. But if it is used to ask for help from a senior spiritual planter, it will have to bleed profusely. Lu Xan made a decision in his heart and looked around. The blue-gray stone wall is surrounded by a circle of black thorns, with densely packed sharp black thorns, which play a certain protective role. However, the defense ability is better than nothing. It can only defend against gentlemen, not villains, let alone those strange insects and beasts that are surreptitious and covet spiritual plants. After this matter is dealt with, it is necessary to save some spirit stones and get a protective formation to avoid similar incidents from happening again. It's completely unrealistic to rely on this little puppet to guard the Lingtian. Lu Xan looked at a straw puppet sitting in the corner of the yard. The puppet is about 3 feet tall, leaning against the wall of the yard. Its whole body is made of unknown hay, its head is big and its body is small, and on its deformed head, there is a tumor made of gray hay. This grass puppet was a second-hand product that Lu Xan bought at a stall in Fangxi. According to the stall owner, the puppet came from the Qianji school in the practice world, and had a simple behavior pattern. It was often used to guard some lower-rank Lingtian. If it senses that a monk or a monster has entered the range of the spiritual field, the grass puppet will send an early warning to the owner of the spiritual field. If it finds that the other party has a tendency to harm the spiritual plant of the spiritual field, the grass puppet will actively attack and trap the opponent. But the one in the yard may be a second-hand one, and the early warning effect is not always effective. As for the active attack, don't even think about it. Of course, it also had a lot to do with Lu Xan himself. Since he traveled through time, he basically stayed behind closed doors and had little communication with the outside world, so no monks or monsters entered the courtyard. Lu Xan glared at the grass puppet with the tumor, and the spiritual energy in his body surged, and a trace of spiritual rain appeared above the yin-yang grass and the eclipse tree, fell on the branches and leaves, and penetrated into it. Moisturized by the spiritual rain, the spiritual plants in the spiritual field appear more green and clean, with the spotless branches and leaves swaying gently, showing the charm. This is the spiritual rain technique that every spiritual planter must learn. It can integrate subtle spiritual energy into water vapor to moisturize the spiritual plants to ensure their smooth growth. This spirit firefly has entered maturity. After Lu Xan irrigated each spirit plant once, he found that on a spirit firefly grass, dots of fluorescent lights kept flickering, as if they were about to fall off from the leaves. He hurried back to the house, took out a white jade box, carefully picked the Lingyingcao, and put it into the jade box. The jade box can slow down the loss of spiritual power in the spiritual plant, and can guarantee its medicinal power to a certain extent. What's this? Lu Xan closed the jade box, and when he was about to leave, he suddenly found a fist-sized white light cluster in the place where the spirit firefly grass had been planted. Lu Xan reached out his hand out of curiosity, and lightly touched the white light ball. In an instant, countless light spots on the light ball poured into his palm, and a thought flashed in his mind involuntarily. Harvest a spirit firefly grass, and get a 3-month cultivation base. Seedlings need to be cultivated by everyone. You follow up, I will update. Chapter 2 Insect Pests. Thoughts flashed, Lu Xan felt a strange feeling coming from his body. The spiritual power that was originally calm and peaceful suddenly surged, rushing back and forth between Lu Xan's veins. Half a moment later, the uncontrolled spiritual power gradually subsided. Lu Xan felt the changes in his body carefully, and couldn't help showing a hint of joy on his face. His cultivation base has risen a lot, which is equivalent to 3 months of hard work on weekdays, and it is only a short distance away from breaking through to the 3rd level of Qi training. It's been so long since time travel, and the Qi has finally arrived. Lu Xan was overjoyed. In his previous life, both his mind and his body were mediocre, and the aptitude background of this body he occupied was also mediocre. If he didn't have cheats, he still doesn't know how to survive in the world of practice. A message popped up in his mind, and he understood everything about this white light ball. Any spiritual plant or spiritual grass planted and cultivated by oneself will be rewarded with a white light group after harvesting it maturely. From the white light group, various things such as cultivation bases, magic tools, exercises, and elixir can be obtained. The richness of rewards is related to many factors. The degree of participation in the growth process of Lingzi, the type, grade, and appearance of Lingzi when it matures, etc., will all affect the size of the reward of the white light group. The light group can only be seen and touched by yourself, and outsiders cannot see it. When you pick a spiritual plant that is not planted by yourself, you cannot get the light group reward. That is to say, as long as I successfully plant a spiritual plant, besides the spiritual plant itself, I can also get an additional light group reward. Isn't that double the harvest, double the happiness? Looking at the vigorous growth of the firefly grass and the eclipse tree in the soil, Lu Xan seemed to see white light clusters flickering towards him. I, Lu Xan, can achieve what I am today, thanks to my hard work in cultivation and taking care of Lingji. Lu Zhan couldn't help thinking. He felt that since the appearance of the white light cluster, many spiritual plants in the spiritual field have also undergone inexplicable changes. Lu Xuanfu went to the heart and concentrated his mind on the spirit firefly grass under his feet. A faint progress bar appeared in the sky above the Yingying Sao. The almost full progress bar indicated that the Yingying Sao in front of me was about to enter a fully mature stage. A piece of information flashed through Lu Zhan's mind. Just being moistened by the spiritual rain, I am satisfied, but the neighbor's rhizome is too big and too long, and it is a bit squeezed. What is this, Lingzi's instant status? Lu Zhan was puzzled, and his mind was gathered on a nearby Yingying Sao. The progress bar was also more than half full, and the same message flashed through his mind. The spirit firefly grass next to it is growing quite well, but I also feel that the neighbor's rhizome is too long and too big, occupying its growth space. Then there is no way to do this, the Lingtian is so big, I can only force you, and the roots will be added. Lu Zhan sighed. Whether it is the growth progress bar or the real-time status, it is of great help to him. It allows him to grasp the growth needs of Lingzi, adjust the details, and make it mature faster and better. Looking at the progress bar that was about to reach the top, he wished he could immediately cast the spirit rain technique to ripen the spirit firefly grass. But he also knows the truth that too much is too much. Proper moisture is of great benefit to spiritual plants, but if it is frequently moisturized, it will be tantamount to backfire. Even if it is mature and poor in appearance, it will affect the reward of the white light group. Thinking of this, Lu Zhan ripened the spirit firefly grass in his heart, and the thought of receiving the reward from the light group immediately dissipated. When he was about to go back to the house, he thought of something and turned around to the west of the yard. Since the real-time status of Lingzi can be known, will the Yingying Sao eroded by the thin black lines also reveal the truth? He held his breath and focused his attention on the spirit firefly grass tightly wound with thin black threads. The progress bar is not much different from the previous two plants, and it is about to be full. A piece of information flooded into Lu Zhan's mind. The spirit firefly that has been infested by the black budworm larva is in a worrying state. If it is not dealt with in time, the vitality in the body will be completely sucked by the black budworm and become dead grass. Black budworm larva. Lu Zhan murmured to himself, letting go of his hanging heart. Knowing the origin of the black thin line will be much easier, at least you don't have to be like a headless chicken with no direction to solve it. He heard the name, and felt a little familiar. He hurried back to the house and turned out a thick book. Common harmful monsters and their solutions. It records hundreds of common monster insects that may harm the spiritual plant during the process of planting the elixir, as well as the treatment suggestions left by the author of the book. Lu Zhan flipped through the pages, and quickly found detailed information about the black bud worm. Black bud worms, adults are as thick as little fingers, come and go like the wind, and like to devour the branches and leaves of spiritual plants. When laying eggs, they will stay on the spiritual plant. After the eggs hatch, the larva will grow by absorbing the vitality of the spiritual plant. When the vitality of the spiritual plant is exhausted, they will automatically leave and look for the next target. The solution. Adults need a monk who has 3 levels of Qi training and is good at attacking spells to deal with it safely. Eggs and larvae are extremely difficult for low-level Qi practitioners to detect unless they have a keen spiritual sense. Because the larva target is too small, and it is connected with the spiritual plant, it is easy to affect the damage to the spiritual plant when dealing with it. Therefore, it needs to be deeply accomplished in certain specific spells, and it can be solved with subtle manipulation. Lu Zhan closed the book, closed his eyes and meditated. To avoid harming the spiritual plants infested by larvae, the spells used must meet 2 conditions. One is to have sufficient lethality, and the other is to control the damage range. Because of his humble background, he has only mastered 2 low-level spells because of his cultivation base of only the 2nd level of Qi training. One is the Spirit Rain technique, which is mainly used to cultivate spiritual plants, and the other is the Fireball technique, which is also used for self-defense. But he knows these 2 spells but is not proficient, and he is completely unable to achieve fine control. And the 2 spells don't look like specific spells that satisfy the needs of cleaning up black budworm larvae. In the initial stage of the Spirit Rain technique, it can only nourish the spiritual plants. Lu Zhan reckons that if he uses one spell, the black budworm larva will not only be harmless but will be even more excited. As for the fireball technique, although the damage is enough, if one fireball goes down, it will be the end of the spirit firefly grass and the black budworm larva. It seems that we still have to go to Fangxi to seek help. Let's spend money and eliminate disasters. Fortunately, we can prescribe the right medicine and save a little bit. Lu Zhan touched the slightly shriveled cloth bag around his waist, and sighed quietly. "Brother Lu, are you at home?" Amidst the knock on the door, a loud voice came from outside the yard. Immediately afterwards, a gray-black grass rope swam over from the corner of the yard, and lightly tapped Lu Zhan's knee. It was the grass puppet staying in the yard, who sensed that someone was about to invade the area of Lingtian, and warned Lu Zan. Everyone stopped outside the door for a while, and greeted you before you called the police. If there was any malicious intent, you might not even be able to react when your home was stolen. Looking at the retracted gray and black grass rope, Lu Zan couldn't help but touch his forehead. That voice sounded familiar. It was one of the few monks that Lu Zan met through time traveling. "Here we come, Brother Zhang." He responded, came to the courtyard gate, and opened the gate. A tall, simple-looking monk walked in. The name of the person who came was Zhang Hong, who was at the 3rd level of Qi training. He lived next door to Lu Zan. There was a Taoist companion at the 2nd level of Qi training, who raised a 6 or 7-year-old child. He gave Lu Zan a lot of advice when he came here. Let him avoid a lot of crooked paths. "Brother Zhang, please come in and have a cup of hot tea." Lu Zan led Zhang Hong into the house. Zhang Hong turned his head to look at the well-growing Lingying Sao and eclipse trees on both sides of the bluestone path, and nodded. "Brother Lu, you have taken good care of these 2 kinds of spiritual plants. It seems that there will be a good harvest after a while." "That's it. It can't be compared with the spiritual plants in the spiritual field in your home, Brother Zhang." After Zhang Hong was seated, Lu Zan made him a cup of hot tea. In the tea bowl, 2 or 3 tender green tea leaves were floating and sinking, spinning endlessly. Zhang Hong didn't take it seriously. He knew Lu Zan's cultivation and family background, and it was quite polite to have a cup of tea with spiritual tea. As expected of Qingyu tea, drinking it seems like a drizzle nourishes the heart. Only you, little brother Lu, have the opportunity to drink such a good cup of tea. At home, your sister-in-law doesn't allow anything, it's boring. Zhang Hong thought carefully about the effects of the spirit tea, closed his eyes and shook his head, thinking of being aggrieved at home. He couldn't help but patted his thigh. No way, sister-in-law wants to prepare for Xiaoyuan's future, so naturally she can only plan carefully. That's true. Zhang Hong sighed. Sometimes, I'm quite envious of you, little brother Lu, who are alone and don't have the pressure to support a family. You can live as you want. You don't have to argue about trivial matters, and you don't have to worry about whether the child can grow up healthily and smoothly. You don't have to think about what kind of exercises he will practice or what sect he can enter in the future. How comfortable. If Brother Zhang really becomes like me, he will probably think about how happy it would be to have a wife and children on the Kong. Lu Zan said with a smile. You kid, you know so much at such a young age. Zhang Hong just sighed casually, laughed, and changed the subject. I've come to look for you this time because I want to tell you something. I learned from other sources that the Wang family, a large family in Fang City, accidentally got information about a secret realm, but the secret realm is far away in the wilderness, so after a while, hundreds of thousands of monks above the 2nd floor of Qi training will be recruited, go to open up the secret realm. See if you have any ideas. If so, you can prepare early. Creating a secret realm, Lu Zan muttered, lost in thought. I will go over this time to take a look. The new secret realm appears. Although the risks are not small, the benefits will also be proportional to the risks. I have been staying in the square city to grow spiritual plants, and the normal expenses of the family are difficult to maintain. As for you, little brother Lu, I personally recommend you to take a look. After all, there are foundation builder monks from the Wang family rushing to the front, and those powerful monsters are hard to come across with our strength. The most important thing is, brother Lu, you are still young. Although it is safe to be a spiritual planter, the resources you can obtain are limited, and your strength is slowly improved. After planting spiritual plants for a long time, your heart will be slowly worn away. It is rare. There is a step closer to sharpness. Zhang Hong looked at Lu Zan, who was thinking with his head down, and suggested aloud. Lu Zan nodded lightly. Indeed, what Zhang Hong said is very reasonable. Although there are certain risks in developing a secret realm, it is still within the controllable range, and the appearance of a new secret realm often means huge benefits, even if it will take a long time to fully digest the leftovers. If it was before, he might still have a chance of agreeing. But now, with the appearance of the white light cluster, this slight possibility is gone. The purpose of venturing out is nothing more than to obtain cultivation resources, and then come back to exchange for pills, exercises, magic tools, etc., but all of these can be obtained by staying at home and planting spiritual plants. Higher security, higher income, and more fragrant farming. He pretended to think for a while, with a tangled expression, finally raised his head, and said to Zhang Hong with apologetic eyes. Brother Zhang's kindness, I, Lu Xuanxin, accepted it. It's just that I've always been cautious and timid. In addition, my cultivation base is low, and I don't have any good spells. I'm afraid it's easy to go out and never return. So, I just want to stay at home, guard this small spiritual field, and grow spiritual plants quietly. As for the future, let's wait and see. Seeing that Lu Zan had made up his mind, Zhang Hong couldn't help but sigh. You are not wrong in your thinking. Although the risk of developing a secret realm is not great, it does not mean that there is no risk at all. If you omit a little bit, if it falls on our little Qi training monks, it may cost a few lives. It's just that I have to go for it. Xiao Yuan can't practice a wild way like me. The two were silent for a while. Zhang Hong sat for a while, then got up to leave, and asked Lu Zan to take care of his little boy. Lu Zan nodded in agreement, watched Zhang Hong leave, and closed the courtyard gate. With the appearance of the white light group, try to avoid putting yourself in danger in the future. If you don't have 90% certainty, no, 90% certainty is equivalent to 0 certainty, and if you are not 100% sure, then don't go out and take risks at will. Looking at the firefly grass and moon eclipse fruit beside the bluestone path, Lu Zan felt full of energy. Chapter 3 Frost Armor. After Zhang Hong left, Lu Zan didn't delay, and took all his belongings, ready to go out to find a solution to the black budworm larva. Before he left, he took out a small stone the size of a fingernail and came to the grass puppet. The small stone is pure white, with a faint fluctuation of spiritual power. It is a small piece of broken spirit, which is divided into a low-grade spirit stone. It is widely used in low-level Qi training monks like Lu Zan. If you're full, take a good look at the house. He stuffed this small piece of broken spirit into the gray grass tumor on the grass puppet's head, and ordered it to fall down with earnest words. With the spiritual power supplemented by broken spirit, the grass puppet exudes a very weak aura, as if it has become more energetic. Although he was not at ease with this unresponsive housekeeper puppet, Lu Zan had no other choice but to hope that the Lingzi in the yard would be safe and sound while he was out. After going out, Lu Zan quickly walked on the Bluestone Road. The courtyard where he lives is located in the northern district of Linyangfang City. Most of them are low-level Qi training monks like him, with the dream of being able to break through themselves and change their destiny, densely packed in a small area. As for the center of Fangfang, it is the private land of those big families and powerful forces, and Lu Zan rarely goes there on weekdays. Having not gone out for a while, he felt a little uncomfortable, looking at everything in front of him, familiar yet unfamiliar. A half-foot-long dark yellow paper bird carried a monk on its back and slowly passed by from a low altitude. The bird's body has burrs of different lengths, which shows that it has been used for a long time. Immediately afterwards, a multi-legged mechanism beast passed over Lu Zan's head, and 20 or 30 monks could be seen sitting on it. The multi-legged mechanism beast is a common means of transportation in Fang City. It only needs to pay dozens of spirits to rush to the center of Fang City in a short time. There is no air forbidden formation outside Fang City. There are many spirit beasts like this, and there are many flying magic weapons. Occasionally, a sword light will pass by in the higher sky. Zhangguang is formed by a monk controlling a flying sword, which means that at least a high-level monk in Qi training is an existence that is elusive for him at present. Lu Zan couldn't help showing a hint of envy. Yujian Qingming, flying across the world, was a distant dream for him in both his past life and this life. He calmed down and quickened his pace. After a while, he came to a gathering place for monks in the North District. There are many shops and stalls in the gathering place. Although they are not as good as the central area in all levels, they are more than enough for a low-level Qi training monk like him. Lu Zan shuttled through the crowd, and soon found a middle-aged monk in a corner. The middle-aged monk is also a second-level Qi practitioner, with a thin body and no flesh on his face, making his cheekbones protrude high. There is a pair of mustaches on the upper lip, and the eyeballs are rolling around, quickly sweeping towards the monk. Lu Zan knew that his surname was Huang, and he lived not far from his yard. He had been in the gathering place for a long time, and knew all kinds of gossip in the North District like the back of his hand. It's just that if you want to ask him something, you need to pay a certain amount of reward. Sensing Lu Zan's gaze, the mustache on the middle-aged man surnamed Huang slightly raised his mustache, and he squeezed out a smiling face to meet Lu Zan. Little Taoist Lu, long time no see, I wonder if I can help you. Lu Zan smiled back. I really need to ask senior brother Huang for advice. I heard that the brother has a very wide network of people, and he is familiar with the monks at various stages of cultivation in the North District. Can you introduce me to a few? There are a few requirements. First, a monk at the 4th level of Qi training, and second, proficient in spells with strong lethality and fine control, or similar magic tools. Finally, it is limited to the North District, and it can be found immediately. Lu Zan said to the middle-aged monk surnamed Huang, and at the same time handed over a handful of broken spirits. He didn't expect to find a monk with a higher level of cultivation. Although it might be faster to deal with the black budworm larva, the remuneration for hiring a 5th-level Qi practitioner was more than double that of a 4th-level Qi practitioner. In addition, the spirit firefly grass has been eroded quite badly. If it cannot be resolved in time, What I will lose is not only one or more spirit firefly grass, but also the white light clusters with unknown rewards when the spirit firefly grass matures. That's why Lu Zan, who has always been thrifty, endured so much pain and sacrificed so many broken spirits, and also asked the monks on the 4th level of Qi training to find them immediately, all in order to be able to deal with the black budworm larva as soon as possible. The middle-aged monk took the broken spirit handed over by Lu Zan, and the smile on his face was obviously more eager and natural. There are quite a few monks on the 4th level of Qi training in the northern area, but there are not many who can meet your other conditions, fellow Taoist Lu. As far as I know, there are 3 nearby. One is Fairy Lingyun, whose cultivation base is quite advanced. She has a set of Hongyun acupuncture artifacts, which can be used superbly, and at the same time meet the 2 requirements of strong lethality and fine control. In addition, there is also Taoist Qin Ming, who is quite knowledgeable in ice-type magic, and may have a slight lack of damage, but he is second to none in terms of control. Finally, there is fellow Taoist Li Shu, who is obsessed with swordsmanship and has the ability to transform a sword into silk, which also meets your requirements, fellow Taoist Lu Xiao. He told Lu Zan the addresses of the 3 Qi training 4th level monks, and after seeing him nodding to remember, he said with a smile, "Why don't I accompany you, fellow Taoist Lu, and take you to visit these 3 comrades? Senior brother Huang's kindness, Lu has won the hearts of the people, so I won't bother senior brother anymore." Lu Zan thought it was a different price, he clasped his fists in thanks, turned and left. He wasn't worried that the middle-aged monk would deceive him. After all, this was his livelihood, and it was impossible for him to ruin his own job. The yard. On the back of the firefly grass eroded by thin black lines, a thin layer of frost spread rapidly with a bone-chilling chill. The larva of the black budworm sensed the rapid approach of the bitter cold, and the thin thread twisted and was about to break free from the leaf. The speed of breaking free cannot keep up with the speed of the frost spreading, and the thin black lines are frozen in thin ice. The snowflake-like frost instantly solidified and became hard. With a bang, a shallow layer of ice shattered and fell together with the black budworm larva. A tender white palm stretched out to catch all the shattered ice pieces. Wow, senior brother Qin really lives up to his name, and his frost armor technique is superb. I admire you. Looking at the undamaged Lingyingzhou leaves under the frost, Lu Zan exclaimed half-truthfully. The owner of the white and tender palm was a fat and white monk, and he stuffed the broken pieces of ice into his arms with a smile. Fortunately, I did not disgrace my life. While solving the black budworm larva, I didn't freeze the Lingzi leaves. I observed the nearby spirit firefly grass for you, fellow Taoist, and found no traces of black budworm larva. You can rest assured for the next period of time, fellow Taoist. It's just that I took a look around the yard. Fellow Taoist Lu, the protective power of your small spiritual field is a little weak, so it may be affected by similar incidents in the future. The fat monk reminded Lu Zan. Lu Zan waved his hand. I'll talk about it later, this time the reward is 6 spirit stones and 50 broken spirits, as agreed before. The fat white monk showed a harmless smile on his face. Lu Zan took out 50 broken spirits, counted them twice, and picked out 6 spirit stones from his waist one by one, turned his head, and handed them to the fat monk. Thank you, fellow Taoist Lu. My fat cultivator Qin Ming took the Lingxi and left the courtyard. Feeling the spirit stone getting farther and farther away from him, Lu Zan was heartbroken, and couldn't help but secretly spit. Profitable businessman. Chapter 4 Inches Zhengjin Sword Art. After learning the information of the 3 4th level Qi training monks from the monk surnamed Huang, Lu Zan took the time to visit them one by one, and finally chose Qin Ming, who is good at ice magic. No one else, only cheap. Among the 3, Fairy Lingyun had the highest asking price. She offered 10 spirit stones at the first opening, and directly scared Lu Zan away, followed by Li Shu, who was good at turning sword energy into threads, asked for 9 spirit stones, and Qin Ming was the cheapest, only 7 spirit stones are needed. Lu Zan naturally did not hesitate, and immediately chose Qin Ming, and spent a lot of time on the road, cutting off Qin Ming's reward by 50 spirits, saving half a spirit stone. But this cheapness is only compared to the other 2 monks. You must know that Lu Zan rented this courtyard with a spiritual field, and the monthly rent was 5 spiritual stones. In such a short period of time, it cost him more than a month's expenses. How could Lu Zan not feel heartbroken? Fortunately, the problem of the black budworm larva has been successfully resolved. I only hope that the white light cluster of the spirit firefly grass that has returned to normal will bring a lot of rewards. His mind was focused on the firefly grass that was eroded by the thin black lines, and a thought flashed across. Suddenly shivering, I feel so empty, as if something has disappeared from my body, and I urgently need to supplement nutrition. What the ***** state? Lu Zan complained. Spiritual energy surged in his body, and strands of spiritual rain fell on the emerald green leaves of the firefly grass and penetrated into it. After 3 consecutive spirit rains, this spirit firefly grass, which had lost vitality, recovered more than half of it. Luzon inspected the small courtyard along the way, learned the real-time status of the remaining Lingiang grass and the 2 eclipse trees, and only entered the house with confidence after confirming that there was no problem. The next day. Early in the morning, Luzon didn't have time to wash up, so he rushed to the side of the spirit firefly grass, pinched the leaves, and turned the backside up. The thin black lines that had lingered in the past few days finally stopped appearing. He took a long breath, and a smile appeared on his face involuntarily. After a round of the spirit rain technique, Luzon took a closer look at the spirit plants in the spirit field, and found that the progress bar under 3 more spirit fireflies had been fully filled. Concentrate on it. Ordinary quality firefly 2. Good quality spirit firefly grass. A good spirit firefly. Luzon noticed the subtle difference between the 3 Lingiangsao. After harvesting the first Lingiangsao, this farming cheat appeared, so he didn't know the quality of the first Lingiangsao when it was mature. He carefully plucked the faintly fluorescent spirit fireflies, and 3 white light clusters quietly appeared on the spot, flickering slightly, as if attracting Luzon to pick them up. Harvest a spirit firefly grass, and get a 3-month cultivation base. Harvest a spirit firefly grass, and get a 3-month cultivation base. Harvest a stalk of Lingiangsao, and get the magic ground attraction. The moment Luzon picked up the light cluster, Luzon felt the spiritual energy in his body suddenly surge. The frenzied influx of spiritual power raged through the meridians. After calming down, Luzon felt that his cultivation had naturally broken through to the 3rd level of Qi training. After many days of painstaking practice, with a little help from 3 white light clusters, he finally managed to break through to the 3rd level of Qi training. Luzon thought with satisfaction. At the same time as his spiritual power soared, a technique called earth attraction also appeared in his sea of consciousness. He realized in his heart and learned a lot of information about the earth yin technique. The ground attraction technique is similar to the spiritual rain technique, and it is one of several low-level techniques necessary for spiritual planters. After successful cultivation, it can induce and control the structural changes of the soil, and can also change the concentration of spiritual power in the soil, making the spiritual power plants can grow better. For the current Luzon, it can be said to be quite practical. He activated the magic formula, and under the control of his spiritual power, the gray-black soil in the spiritual field swelled up slightly changing the position of the rhizomes of the remaining spirit fireflies in a small way, making their distribution more reasonable, and no longer being either empty or large blocks, or squeezed together. I originally thought that all the white light clusters brought by the spirit fireflies would be cultivated in March, but now it seems that the same species of spiritual plants will give different light cluster rewards. The mature spirit firefly grass with good quality brought the technique of ground attraction. It seems that the remaining 20-odd spirit fireflies and the 2 eclipse trees need to be taken care of more carefully. Improving their mature quality is the reward for increasing the white light cluster. Luzon thought in his heart. The yard is not big. 2 moon eclipse trees occupy a small half of the area. A total of 24 firefly plants are planted in the remaining area. After 2 harvests, a total of 4 plants are harvested, and the remaining 20 plants are about to mature. Even though the Lingiang grass occupies a very small area, the rhizomes in the soil have a wide range. Even if only more than 20 plants are planted, it is already the result of maximizing the use of the soil of the spirit field. Judging from the rewards brought by good quality spirit fireflies, it is best to improve their appearance when they are mature to cultivate spirit plants. In this way, you can sell more spirit stones, and you can also get better light group rewards, which is a double win. Now that he can know the real-time state of Lingzi, and with the assistance of the earth attraction technique and the spiritual rain technique, Luzon is full of confidence in this. He is going to change the usual planting method. Before, he used the spirit rain technique at regular intervals every day to nourish the spiritual plants. During the gaps between his practice, he would come to the spiritual field from time to check for insect infestation. This is already a relatively reasonable way of cultivation for him, a low-level spiritual planter. After being able to understand the status of the spiritual plant in real time, he planned to use the large-scale spiritual rain technique instead of a partial and fine-grained display. When he sensed which spirit firefly plant was in need, he would satisfy it, and try his best to cultivate the best-looking spiritual plant. Do as soon as he thinks of it, according to the subtle differences in the needs of each spirit firefly grass, he performed the spirit rain technique and the ground attraction technique over and over again until the spiritual power in his body was exhausted. Looking at every shiny green spirit firefly plant in the spiritual field, Luzon, who was exhausted, showed a gratified smile. As for having no time to practice today, he said that is no longer important, and now he just wants to farm quietly. After 2 days of hard work, 5 mature Lingiangsao were placed in front of Luzon. But probably because the planting time is too long, the fine cultivation in just a few days cannot bring about qualitative changes. Among the 5 spirit fireflies, 3 are of average quality and 2 are of good quality. The spiritual energy brought to Luzon by the 3 common spirit fireflies is equivalent to the accumulation of his usual training for 9 months. As for the other 2 good quality spirit firefly grasses, one is also a ground induction technique. After Luzon absorbed it, he felt that he had a deeper understanding of this technique, the time to activate the technique was shorter, and the degree of control of soil changes was more fine and free. It seems that if the reward of the opened light group is the same spell, after absorbing it, it will increase the perception of it, which is equivalent to the experience bar. Luzon was thoughtful, and then another light cluster reward from a good quality Lingyingxao appeared in the Sea of Consciousness. Zhengjin Sword Art. Chapter 5 Restlessness. Zhengjin Sword Art, a first-grade technique, uses a special method to accumulate gold-type sword energy in the acupoints. When it is activated, it is as fast as the wind, and the damage is extremely strong. First-class spells, I didn't expect such a good baby to come out of the light group. Luzon was in a trance for a moment. He currently has mastered 3 techniques, Fireball Technique, Spiritual Rain Technique, and the Ground Attraction Technique that the White Light Ball has not yet opened. These 3 techniques are not at the top level. As for Zhengjin Sword Art, although it is only the lowest grade, Luzon is already satisfied. You must know that even among middle-level or even high-level monks in Qi training, first-grade spells are not something that everyone has. He stayed where he was, following the route that appeared in his mind, and slowly gathered his spiritual power. Immediately, a pale golden air flow about 3 inches long and finger-wide surged out of the body, and flew towards the stone wall, cutting a black thorn in 2. Luzon walked over, picked up a thorn with a smooth section, secretly shocked by the lethality of the pale golden sword energy. Although the black thorns do not belong to spiritual plants, they are very tough. Luzon once experimented with the fireball technique, and it took half a minute to burn the thorns. Compared with the 2 kinds of techniques, the Zhengjin Sword Art is much cleaner, and its lethality is obviously more than doubled. It's just a new practice, and it takes too long to use the sword art, and its power is also greatly reduced. With such powerful spells, it is imperative to practice more frequently in the future. Of course, it would be the best if an additional, Zhengjin Sword Art, can be issued as an experience bar. Looking at the remaining 15 spirit fireflies, Luzon couldn't help but think. He put the picked Lingyingxao into the jade box, planning to go out again. He currently has 9 mature Lingyingxao, 6 of which are of ordinary quality and 3 of which are of good quality. The number of jade boxes is limited, and there is no room to put down the extra spiritual plants. In order to avoid the loss of the spiritual power of the spirit fireflies later, these 9 spirit fireflies must be sold as soon as possible. At the same time, the spirit field was vacant, and the spirit fireflies in the remaining area were about to mature. Luzon planned to use the spirit stones he bought to buy some spirit seeds. If there are enough spirit stones, see if you can find a low-level protective formation in the market. The white light group that appeared in the spiritual field in the courtyard increased the importance of the spiritual field a lot. Luzon was afraid that some monks or monsters would sneak in, walk along and hurt the spiritual plants in the spiritual field, which would affect the richness of the white light group. He gave the grass puppet a few words to let it take care of its home, and then left the courtyard with the jade box containing the spirit firefly grass. As soon as he went out, he happened to meet Zhang Hong, who was coming back from the market. "Brother Lu, where are you going?" Zhang Hong saw Luzon's figure from a distance, and smiled heartily. "Hi brother Zhang, I'm going to go to the market to have a look." Luzon greeted Zhang Hong. The two exchanged a few pleasantries, and he learned that Zhang Hong had just returned from the market and bought several amulets to prepare for the upcoming reclamation of the secret realm. Brother Lu really doesn't want to go to the wilderness to open up that new secret realm together. Zhang Hong changed the topic, and asked Luzon unwillingly. "I appreciate brother Zhang's kindness. I don't have this ambition. I just want to be an ordinary and peaceful spiritual planter." Luzon waved his hand, firmly refusing. "Then there is no other way. I thought that if I could be with you, with such a long time of understanding, we would also have a mutual support." Zhang Hong said regretfully. "I wish big brother Zhang many adventures during this trip and return safely." Luzon cupped his fists and said sincerely. The two bid farewell. Luzon came to the market on foot, and found that there were many more monks in the market than usual. Defense talisman has become a hot commodity, and healing elixir is even rarer. As soon as it appeared, many monks looted it. Even though the price was much higher than usual, the supply was still in short supply. It seems that the news that the Wang family is about to open up a new secret realm has spread in Linyangfang City. There are so many low-level and middle-level monks who practice Qi training want to get a share of the pie. I don't know how many monks will get the opportunity, and how many monks will become stepping stones for others. Lu Xan felt the restlessness in Fangxi, and remained unmoved, watching quietly. He stayed in the market for 2 or 3 minutes, paying attention to every message around him, asking casual practitioners from time to time, and finally, after turning a few intersections, he came to a medicine store called Baekaotang. The owner of the pharmacy is an alchemist, and there is a relatively large demand for various alchemy materials. The elixir that Lu Xan planted before is sold to this pharmacy, and the price is quite reasonable. Entering the pharmacy, a strong medicinal fragrance came, and Lu Xan walked into a wooden house familiarly. Various elixirs, large and small, were piled up in the wooden house, and several drug boys were busy processing them. "Boy Lu, are you here to sell spirit fireflies again?" A thin old man caught sight of Lu Xan, brushed his bulging chest, and greeted him. "Yes, manager some spirit fireflies are ripe, come and sell them to your store." The thin old man is a relative of the alchemist in the pharmacy. He usually helps manage some chores in the pharmacy. If Lu Xan wants to sell Lingyingcao, he has to deal with him. The two are quite familiar with each other. "How many?" 9 plants, how many spirit stones are there in Lingyingcao now?" Lu Xan took out the jade box from his chest and asked. "It's still the old price, 3 low-grade spirit stones for 1 plant." "Guan He, you are being unkind, aren't you?" Hearing the thin old man's answer, Lu Xan withdrew his hand that was holding the jade box. "As far as I know, many of the spirit fireflies planted by many spirit planters in the North District have recently suffered from insect damage, and the yield is lower than usual. There are rumors everywhere in Fang City that the Wang family in the central area is going to open up a new secret realm, which has greatly increased the price of healing pills. Lingyingcao is used as the main material for refining healing elixir, and the previous market price is still used. That would be too bullying for us to be honest casual practitioners. You little boy, your cultivation level is not high, but your nose is very good." Manager He laughed and cursed, and said with a straight expression. "A spirit firefly grass, 3 spirit stones and 20 pieces of spirit, the same price." Lu Xan lowered his head and thought for a while, knowing that this was already a fairly reasonable price. "Is this the price of a good quality spirit firefly?" "Oh." The thin old man raised his head with surprise in his eyes. "You kid also planted a good-looking spirit firefly. Let me see." High-quality raw materials can slightly increase the rate of alchemy and the effect of elixirs when refining elixirs, and are very popular among alchemists. "Yes, it is indeed a good-looking spirit firefly. You are young, and the spiritual energy you occupy in the spiritual field is meager. It is not easy to grow a spiritual plant of this quality. In this way, these 3 spirit fireflies in good condition, I will buy them at the price of 3 spirit stones and 50 pieces of spirit each. What do you think?" Lu Xan nodded quickly. After all, it is only slightly better than ordinary, not the first class or even perfect-looking spirit firefly grass. It is already quite good that each plant can increase 30 broken spirits. He handed over the 9 spirit fireflies to the thin old man. The old man checked them carefully, and without faults, he counted the spirit stones and handed them to Lu Xan. 6 ordinary spirit fireflies and 3 good spirit fireflies were exchanged for a total of 29 low-grade spirit stones and 70 broken spirits. Lu Xan carefully tucked it into his waist, feeling the cold breath coming from the spirit stone through his clothes. His heart was burning hot. Chapter 6 Red Cloud Pine. 9 spirit fireflies were exchanged for a total of 29 low-grade spirit stones, 70 broken spirits, plus the 6 spirit stones and 82 broken spirits in my hand. Now I have a total of 36 low-grade spirit stones, 52 broken spirits. It's a pity that I was harmed a lot by the black bud worm larva killed by that day, otherwise the net worth would be even richer. Lu Xan couldn't help gritting his teeth at the thought of spending his 6 spirit stones and 50 broken spirit black threads. Qian is courageous, with such a large sum of spirit stones, his back straightened a lot. Leaving Baekao Hall, Lu Xan couldn't worry about Ling Tian, whose protection power was better than nothing, and hurried straight to the next destination. There are all kinds of shops in the market, among which there are many small shops that specialize in or add to the sale of spiritual seeds. He came to a shop familiarly. An ordinary middle-aged monk with a low level of qi training was nursing the spiritual plant seedlings placed in the shop. When he saw Lu Xan coming in, he stood up to greet him. "Little brother, is there anything I can do for you?" the owner asked aloud. "Let me take a look first." Lu Xan replied, his eyes swept across the entire shop. There are many kinds of spiritual species in the store, in different shapes, and Lu Xuanda doesn't know them. There are still many spiritual plant seedlings in the corner, and there are many visions, which Lu Xan is even more unfamiliar with. After the spiritual plants are mature, if they are allowed to continue to grow, There is a certain possibility that they will produce spiritual seeds, but most of these spiritual seeds are not suitable for cultivating new spiritual plants. Most spiritual species need to be condensed through various special methods, and there are even some condensing methods that only those big sects can master. Especially for those rare and high-grade spiritual species, their coagulation method will not be spread to the outside world at all. Even if it is the condensed spirit seed of an ordinary rank, it is not something that ordinary casual cultivators can grasp. There may be some big monks and big families standing behind this shop. How many spirits are there? Luzon pointed to the spirit firefly seeds that were placed on the shelf like dry tea leaves, and asked the middle-aged monk. One piece of 40 broken spirits, no less than 10 pieces at a time, 50 broken spirits for retail sales. I need 20. In addition, fellow Taoists, please recommend me a first-grade spiritual plant seedling or spiritual seed. It is best if the requirements for spiritual energy are not high, and the growth conditions are simple. There were 24 spirit firefly plants planted in the small spiritual field in the yard before, but this time Luzon did not plan to buy the same number of seeds. The spirit firefly grass and the eclipse tree have no grades. The eclipse tree is more valuable, but it is not yet a first-grade one. The white light cluster that appears after the spiritual plant matures, its richness is affected by many factors, including the type and grade of the spiritual plant. So Luzon wanted to try planting a first-grade spiritual plant with a relatively simple difficulty, and see what kind of light cluster reward it would have when it matured. Reiki is not demanding, and the growth conditions are simple. What do you think of these two? They are all first-grade spiritual plants. One is the blood-devouring vine spiritual seed, which requires a certain amount of animal or monster flesh and blood essence to feed. Taking it directly after maturity can strengthen the monk's blood, or assist in the practice of some special skills. There is also a red cloud pine seedling, which occasionally needs fire-type spiritual power to accumulate during the cultivation process. The red cloud pine spiritual fruit produced is rich in spiritual power and has a strange and delicious taste. It is very popular among female cultivators. The higher the level of spiritual plants, the more demanding the growth environment and conditions. With complex conditions such as spiritual energy, spiritual soil, and spiritual springs, the cultivation of these two first-grade spiritual plants is already relatively simple. Luzon first ruled out the blood-eating vine. Just kidding, he is barely in the food and clothing stage now, and he may not necessarily eat a meal of monster meat for 10 days and a half months. If he planted this blood-eating vine, what would he feed it? You can't cut your own meat and feed it to vines, can you? As for Kai Yunsong, I currently have the fireball technique, and there are more than a dozen Lingying Sao and eclipse fruits that can be drawn for the lottery. Maybe some fire spells will be issued, and it is not a big problem to supply it with a small amount of fire power. How many spirit stones does the red cloud pine seedling need? Luzon pointed to a young pine tree in the corner. The small pine tree was less than 2 feet high, and the pine leaves were like fiery red needles. Looking from a distance, it looked like a small cluster of red clouds, hence the name red cloud pine. 5 spirit stones. The middle-aged monk replied. 20 spirit firefly seeds, this red cloud pine seedling, 12 spirit stones, I will take them all away. How? Little brother, you are too ruthless in bargaining. How about it, I will make a profit and add 70 pieces of spirit. Fellow Taoist, you also know that it is not easy for a casual cultivator to earn some spirit stones. I saw that Qian pine was destined to be with me, so I got the idea. If I really want to buy it, I don't know if it can be planted successfully. 50 broken spirits, no more. Deal. The middle-aged monk shook his head and smiled wryly. He handed over 20 Lingying Sao seeds to Luzon, and helped to pack the red cloud pine seedlings in cloth bags, and told Luzon to plant them as soon as possible, as long delays would affect the vitality of the seedlings. Luzon was as good as he was, nodded, and took out the 12 spirit stones and 50 broken spirits that hadn't been fully warmed with a look of regret, and cleared the money and goods. In the market, Luzon was arguing with a casual cultivator with a red face. Fellow Taoist, this protective formation is only secondhand, and there are bloodstains on it. This is a bad omen, and the meaning is unknown. 20 spirit stones are already a high price. The casual cultivator looked helpless. Little brother, if the formation is brand new, then I will at least double the price. As for the blood stains, it will not affect its protective ability. You can cut from 25 spirit stones to 20 at once. There is such a price as it. There is nothing wrong with the formation, but the origin is unknown, which is a bit worrying, and I don't know how long it has been used. I am afraid it will not be banned. Luzon made an appearance of wanting to buy it, but also full of worries. How about this, 21 spirit stones, if there is any problem with the formation, you can come to the market to find me. I have been setting up a stall here for more than 10 years, so I still have some credibility. Okay, I'll treat it as a friend of yours. Luzon made a decision and took out 21 low-grade spirit stones. Don't, let's talk about Lingxi, not friendship. The casual cultivator quickly refused. Luzon had been arguing with him for nearly half an hour in order to cut off a few spirit stones. If there was any kind of friendship, then I don't know how many spirit stones would be used to offset it. Luzon took the array plate with dark red blood stains from the stall owner, and carefully stuffed it into his arms. He didn't care about the blood stains at all. After all, no matter how scary a ghost is, it can't compare to a poor ghost. In order to avoid haggling, he never went to roadside shops. In this practice world, in order to save a little bit of Lingxi, he has developed a deadly bargaining skill. All the spirit stones brought by the 9 spirit firefly grasses went out again, and they even caught up with my original family. However, the harvest is still quite large. 20 seeds of Lingying grass and 1 seedling of red cloud pine. The most important thing is that the protective formation that I have been thinking about is finally available. Luzon pinched his chest that had become shriveled again, thinking in his heart. Chapter 7 Sword Chi Talisman. The purpose of going out was achieved. Luzon was thinking about the spiritual plant in the yard, and he didn't stay long, and went back home directly. In the house, he couldn't wait to take out the array plate containing dark red blood stains. A basic protective formation was engraved in the array plate. After activation, it can protect a certain range, and it can also serve as a warning when foreign objects invade. Luzon adjusted his breathing, and when his mind calmed down, he circulated the spiritual power in his body, and slowly poured it into the array according to the order of the casual repair stall owner. Under the stimulation of spiritual power, the array plate shone with a faint white light. After absorbing enough spiritual power, the white light instantly magnified hundreds or thousands of times, covering the entire courtyard. The faint white light flickered, like a layer of egg white. Luzon continued to adjust, controlling the formation disk. The faint spiritual energy cover kept changing according to the shape of the courtyard, and gradually disappeared, and there was no abnormality at all on the outside. As the master of the array, he can still clearly perceive the existence of the aura shield. The shield has a certain protective ability, which can block the invasion of foreign objects. If something tries to penetrate through the aura shield, Luzon will be able to detect it immediately as long as he is at home. After the defensive formation was successfully deployed, Luzon's heart that had been holding him was finally completely relieved. At this moment, he has a full sense of security, and he no longer has to worry about the spiritual plants in the yard being harmed by villains and demon insects, which will affect the rewards of the White Light group. After a short rest, Luzon came to the spiritual field with the seeds of the firefly grass and the bag containing the seedlings of the red cloud pine. After harvesting 9 spirit firefly grasses in Lingtian, a large area was vacated. Luzon made a gesture, took out 10 Lingyingxiao seeds, and estimated their growth range in the future. The spiritual power in the body surged, and the soil of the spiritual field swelled slightly. Under the control of the ground attraction technique, 10 small cracks appeared. The dried spirit firefly seeds like tea leaves were put into the cracks one by one, and then covered with a shallow layer of spirit field soil. The raindrops of spiritual energy penetrated into the soil, nourishing the seeds of the spirit firefly inside. Luzon tried to gather his mind on the seed, and felt a wave of joy and enthusiasm coming from the seed. Mood. He was infected by this emotion, and a smile could not help but appear on his face. Little guys, grow up well, break out of the ground quickly, and meet this magical world. He planned to wait for the remaining 15 spirit firefly seeds to mature before planting them. Then, he took out the red cloud pine seedlings, and the seedlings stayed in the cloth bag for a long time, looking a little shrugging. Luzon hurriedly controlled the soil of the spiritual field, and buried the roots of the seedlings in the soil. After the planting was completed, he cast the spiritual rain technique again, and under the full nourishment of the spiritual rain, the red cloud pine seedlings regained their vitality. Luzon circulated the spiritual power in his body, and a red fireball the size of a fist appeared in front of him. The fireball drew an arc and flew towards the red cloud pine seedlings. The moment it was about to touch the red cloud pine, the red fireball disintegrated silently, turning into hundreds of tiny flames, which melted into the branches, leaves and other parts of the red cloud pine. Under the accumulation of many flames, the originally gray-black branches of Qian pine revealed a light red color, and there was a faint burning sensation. Countless branches and leaves that look like fiery red needles all stand up, and the whole Qian pine is like a stimulated hedgehog, which is really interesting. Looking at Kai Yunsong, who was in a state of stress, Luzon couldn't help laughing. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. During these 3 days, Luzon stayed at home and did not go out. In order to obtain better quality spiritual plants, he spends most of his time taking care of and cultivating them, taking time out to practicing Din and Zhengjin sword art. The exercise he practiced is called Yin Yuan Gong, which is a popular product on the market. There is nothing surprising about it, and the speed of absorbing spiritual energy is extremely slow. Of course, for Lu Xan at that time and even now, cheapness is its biggest advantage. After a few days of practicing the Dean technique in the Zhengjin sword art, I became more proficient, at least the speed of releasing the sword art was much faster. If you really want to meet some opponent, this improvement effect is not big, anyway, it will end. The sword art was not halfway executed, but the middle path collapsed. Whenever this time, I miss the white light group, and look forward to the appearance of another experience bar. Lu Xan sighed and came to the yard. After several days of careful care, 4 more Lingyiang grasses have fully matured, and there are still 11 plants that are about to mature. After a few more days of careful cultivation, the probability of good quality Lingyiangsao appearing has also increased. Among the 4 Lingyiangsao, 3 are good and 1 is ordinary. Ordinary spirit firefly grass still brings 3 months of cultivation. As for the 3 good quality spirit fireflies, Lu Xan picked up 3 slightly shimmering white light clusters in the soil one by one. Harvest a stock of Lingyiangsao, and obtain a first-grade spell, Zhengjin sword art. Harvest a spirit firefly grass and gain half a year's cultivation. Harvest a Lingyiang grass, and get a first-grade talisman, a sword chi talisman. Several thoughts flashed through Lu Xan's mind, and the rewards of the 3 white light clusters were also revealed. After absorbing the light ball containing the sword art, Lu Xan's understanding of the sword art has improved to a higher level, the speed of casting is faster, and the power has also increased by 10 to 20%. Ordinary quality Lingyiangsao brings 3 months of cultivation, while good quality spirit firefly brings half a year's cultivation. This is a surprise. Lu Xan sighed in his heart, and then turned his attention to a talisman that quietly appeared in his hand. The talisman is dark yellow, with mysterious and obscure rune patterns engraved on the edge, and a faint sword aura in the middle stands out on the talisman, as if it will shoot out at any time. Sword Energy Talisman, first-grade talisman, disposable items, equivalent to a full-strength strike by a mid-level monk who is good at kendo, and the damage is extremely strong. Yipin Talisman. This is a grand prize. Although it is only a one-time talisman, swordsmanship has always been famous for killing and attacking. This sword chi talisman is equivalent to a full-strength strike of an intermediate-level kendo monk practicing chi, and its attack strength can be seen. For Lu Xan, who is on the 3rd level of chi training, it can be regarded as a pretty good trump card. Lu Xan was satisfied, and looked forward to the remaining 11 spirit fireflies. The 10 spirit firefly seeds planted 3 days ago also all broke through the ground, revealing new shoots. The tender green leaves are extremely narrow, and there are dots of fluorescence as fine as dust on them. If you don't observe carefully, it is difficult to detect. Spirit Yingsao, which has entered the stage of rapid growth, is growing well, and has an extremely strong demand for aura. It's not a top-notch spiritual planter, can you satisfy it? Looking at the thoughts that appeared in his mind under the concentration of his mind, Lu Xan sneered. I want to hit 10. The growth trend of the red cloud pine is slightly slower, and it has grown by about an inch. Whenever Lu Xan uses the flames transformed by the fireball technique to stimulate, the thin red pine leaves will burst into anger, and will return to their natural state after they are completely digested. Chapter 8 Interest Concentration Method. Night falls. Lu Xan dragged his slightly tired body back to the house. Although there are not many spiritual plants in the spiritual field at present, there are 11 Lingyiang grasses that are about to mature, 10 newly planted seedlings, 2 moon eclipse trees, and 1 red cloud pine. However, due to the extremely delicate cultivation methods, the spiritual rain technique and the ground yin technique were used round after round, so at the end of the day, even Lu Xan's physique of a chi training monk would feel tired. However, he enjoyed it. Compared with watching many spiritual plants grow vigorously, this bit of fatigue is nothing. He had a simple dinner, rested for a while, then sat on the wooden bed, performed exercises, and recovered his spiritual power. The sudden increase in cultivation made the spiritual power in his body stagnate, so he had to adapt and adjust. Suddenly, he noticed that the array disc beside him suddenly burst into light. A miniature aura shield appeared on the array disc, and at a certain position on the shield, a faint aura flickered like ripples. Lu Xan looked serious, remembering the location where the aura flashed. The sword amulet slipped into the palm of his left hand, stood up suddenly, came to the blue-gray stone wall, and jumped. Crossing the stone wall, Lu Xan's eyes were sharp, and he saw a black figure wriggling its tiny body and fleeing quickly into the distance. Seeing the tiny black shadow trying to invade his spiritual field, Lu Xan was furious. How could he let it escape so easily? The spiritual energy in his body circulated rapidly, and soon, a faint golden sword energy was instantly condensed, like a streamer, roaring towards the tiny black shadow. The black shadow seemed to be solidified by the sword intent, its speed slowed down a lot, and it was cut into 2 sections by the golden sword energy. The light dissipated, and the surroundings were dark. Lu Xan clasped the sword chi talisman tightly, looked around, and after seeing that there was nothing unusual, he slowly let out a mouthful of turbid air. He came to the severed black shadow, picked up the 2 stumps, and returned to the yard. As soon as he entered the room, a gray and black grass rope swam to Luzon's feet, and tapped his knee, signaling that something foreign had invaded the spiritual field. I've already extinguished it, and your warning just arrived. The reaction speed is okay. Looking at the grass puppet whose straw rope retracted after reminding himself, Luzon couldn't laugh or cry. Under the dim candlelight, he could clearly see the remnants of the black shadow in his hand. The whole body is pitch black, with thick fingers and wrinkles of different shades on the body. It is the black budworm that Luzon found in Common Hazardous Demon Insects and Their Solutions. One time is not enough, come again. You have regarded my Lingtian as your back garden, right? Luzon controlled the Jengjin sword art to cut the 2 parts of the black budworm into pieces, and then used the fireball technique to burn it into black ashes. Only then did the anger in his heart completely disappear. Fortunately, this protective formation worked and blocked the invasion of the black bud bug in time, otherwise, the consequences would be disastrous. When he thought that the spiritual plants in the spiritual field might be parasitized by the black bud bug eggs, which would affect his light group rewards, he felt lingering fear. He felt more and more that it was an extremely wise decision to spend a lot of money to buy this second-hand formation. The appearance of the black bud worm was just a small disturbance in the peaceful farming life. In the next few days, nothing happened again. Luzon lived a simple and fulfilling life. Every day, he used the spirit rain technique and the ground attraction technique to carefully cultivate the spiritual plants, and used the fireball technique to stimulate the red cloud pine from time to time. I didn't go out much for a few days, only Zhang Hong came once in the middle. He is about to enter the wilderness with monks from the Wang family and hundreds of casual cultivators to open up new secret realms. Before leaving, he comes to bid farewell to Luzon and asks him to help take care of his wife and children at home. Apart from this, Luzon basically had no contact with other people. 5 days passed, and he harvested 2 more waves of mature spirit fireflies, a total of 8 plants. In the spiritual field, there were only the last 3 leaves that were about to mature. Among the 8 plants, 3 are of normal quality and 5 are of good quality. Among the 8 white light clusters that appeared, 3 light clusters were rewarded with a cultivation base, which added a year of cultivation base to Luzon and increased his spiritual power a lot. Among the other 5 plants, 2 are Earth Yin technique and Jengjin sword art. With these 2 experience packs, Luzon has a deeper understanding of these 2 techniques, and their casting speed is faster, and their power has also increased a lot. There are 3 more, and 3 talismans are opened, all of which are first grade, namely the Sword Chi Talisman, the Swiftness Talisman for increasing speed, and the Defensive Earth Armor Talisman. Luzon kept them all for emergencies. After picking these 8 mature Lingian grasses, a large area was vacated in the spiritual field. Luzon carefully planted the remaining 10 Lingian grass seeds. After a short time, tender green buds spit out, trembling slightly in the breeze. The 10 plants planted before have grown a lot. Each plant is about 3 inches high. The color of the leaves has become dark green, and the dots of fluorescence on them have become more prominent. The last 3 Lingiangsao did not keep Luzon waiting for a long time. One day, after performing the spirit rain, the faint progress bars under the 3 Lingiangsao were all pulled to full. With his mind concentrated, Luzon discovered a surprise. Mature spirit firefly grass of good quality. Asterisk 2. Mature spirit firefly grass of the highest quality. Finally, a high-quality Lingiangsao has been cultivated. Luzon grasped this more fluorescent Lingiangsao, feeling relieved in his heart. There are a total of 24 plants. Under the meticulous cultivation of the spirit rain technique and the earth yin technique, a high-quality plant finally appeared. Although the probability is extremely small, Luzon also understands. After all, the spiritual energy in my own spiritual field is thin, and I was already in its later stage when I learned about the instant state of the Yingying-sao. If you want to produce a large number of high-quality spiritual plants, or a higher level of perfect quality, at least 2 conditions need to be met. The concentration of spiritual power, the fine cultivation of spiritual seeds until the mature stage. Luzon concluded. In the spiritual field, 3 white light clusters flickered slightly, attracting Luzon's attention. Harvest a spirit firefly grass and gain half a year's cultivation. It's cultivation again, I don't even have the motivation to practice hard. Luzon felt the surging spiritual power appearing out of thin air in his body, and sighed. Harvest a Lingian grass, and get a first-grade talisman to dispel evil spirits. A dark yellow talisman appeared in Luzon's hand. There was an evil ghost pattern in the middle of the talisman, which was suppressed by a chain composed of 2 strange lines. Evil dispelling talisman, first-grade talisman, can purify and drive away evil spirits within a certain range after use, which is rare. A thought flashed through Luzon's mind, and he carefully put away the evil spirit talisman with the pattern of evil spirits. The last white light group is the high-quality plant. The quality of spiritual plants is one of the factors that affect the rewards. Luzon has great expectations for it. The ball of light turned into countless light spots, pouring into Luzon's mind. A thought flashed, and a practice method appeared in his sea of consciousness. Concentrating breath method. After practice, you can restrain your breath and cultivation base, and it has a pretty good concealment ability. Chapter 9 Full Moon. Although it is only an auxiliary technique and cannot be used for cultivation in actual combat, but for me at present, its value is not weaker than that of practice. The appearance of the white light group made Lu Xuanshou rise like a rocket. But his own aptitude is average, and he is fine in a short time. After a long time, people will definitely find out that his cultivation base is abnormal, and he may be in trouble at that time. Cultivators generally don't take the initiative to probe other people's cultivation. After all, this is a kind of impolite behavior and it is easy to make the other party unhappy. But if you have more contact with people, you will naturally encounter prying eyes, intentional or unintentional. With the appearance of the breath-holding method, you can disguise yourself to a certain extent. As usual, you are just a little spirit planter with low cultivation. Unless the other party's cultivation is much higher than his own, or even a higher realm, or he has practiced some probing techniques, it will be difficult to detect his true cultivation. Luzon slowly circulated the spiritual power in his body according to the advancing route of the exercises. In an instant, the fluctuation of the spiritual power from his body subsided instantly, and the sense of existence of the whole person dropped a lot. He experimented for a while, revealing the cultivation level of the second level of Qi training, and returned to the usual ordinary little casual cultivator. In the spirit field, the two kinds of spirit plants planted before, the spirit firefly grass, have all been picked, leaving only the two moon eclipse trees on the left and right. Eclipse moon tree has also grown a lot during this period. Among the emerald green leaves, the crescent-shaped eclipse fruit gradually becomes full, from sunken, to flat, to round. When the silver white hook is in this state, it can still hide in the leaves, blooming, and when it becomes rounder and fuller, it appears a little half-covered and ready to come out. Even though the eclipse moon tree has not yet entered the product, its value is much more precious than that of the firefly grass. Luzon is looking forward to what kind of reward it will bring to him when the moon is full. The newly planted spirit firefly grass and red cloud pine in the spiritual field are still some time away from maturity. The difficulty of planting the spirit firefly grass is relatively low, and it usually enters the mature stage in about 2 or 3 months. As for the red cloud pine, because it is a first-grade spiritual plant, Luzon estimates that it will take about half a year to mature. Of course, this is the normal cultivation cycle of most low-level spiritual planters for these two kinds of spiritual plants. Luzon guessed that because he knew the immediate state of the spiritual plants, he might shorten their maturity time slightly. After all, other Lingzi teachers cannot understand Lingzi's small needs as accurately as he does, nor can they satisfy them meticulously. For them, cultivating spiritual plants is just a means of making a living, and cultivation is the right way. For example, the spiritual rain technique, the cultivation method adopted by the spiritual planter is usually large-scale watering. It is completely impossible to control it carefully and use it locally like Luzon, just to make the spiritual plant in the best state. The picked Lingyingzhao could not be kept for too long, so Luzon planned to go to the Baikao Hall again and sell the 15 Lingyingzhao in his hand to Guanxi He. Among the 15 Lingying grasses, there are 4 of ordinary quality, 10 of good quality, and 1 of high quality. He gave the grass puppet 2 broken spirits, activated the protective formation, and went out with confidence. In Baikao Hall, it is still the familiar medicinal fragrance. The drug boys were busy processing materials, while the thin old man lay leisurely on a wooden chair, flipping through the ledger in his hand. "Hey, Boilu is here again, how's the harvest? You have to tell me how the market of Lingyingzhao is now." Luzon showed a mysterious smile. Now that a large number of low-level Qi training monks have entered the wilderness, the demand for healing pills has dropped a lot. It's just that the pests in the North District have shown signs of intensification recently. Many low-level spiritual planters, spiritual fields have been infringed, so the price is still the same as last time. Ordinary 3 spirit stones and 20 broken spirits per plant, good quality per plant add 30 broken spirits. Luzon nodded slightly when he heard the words. When he came along the way, he saw that the gathering place of casual cultivators, which was bustling in the past, was much deserted and empty everywhere. As for insect infestation, he has also heard that the spiritual fields of many casual spiritual planters are not protected by formations, and are invaded by monster insects, causing heavy losses. Here, the spirit fireflies I brought over this time, you, Guanxi, can distinguish them according to their quality. Luzon placed 14 Lingying grass in front of the thin old man. As for this one, that's another price. He finally took out the high-quality spirit firefly grass and waved it in front of Manager He. Is this a high-quality spirit firefly? The thin old man had bought the Lingian grass for many years, and he could see the uniqueness of this Lingian grass at a glance, and asked in a surprised tone. That's right, it is indeed a high-quality spirit firefly grass. With your spiritual field, which has almost no aura, it is quite rare to be able to grow such a quality spirit firefly grass. It seems that maybe you have a good talent in cultivating spiritual plants. Looking at Lu Zan, he sighed leisurely. It was a fluke. I'm just using the time that other people spend cultivating on planting spiritual plants. Lu Zan said half-truth. I don't care what method you use, the more high-quality firefly grasses you can plant, the better. I will buy them at a price you are satisfied with. I will take this spirit firefly at the price of 3 spirit stones and 70 spirit fragments. What do you think? Manager, he asked Lu Zan. Lu Zan raised his eyebrows, smiled and remained silent. It goes without saying, you have to pay more. The thin old man naturally understood the meaning, and quickly set a price that moved Lu Zan's heart. 4 low-grade spirit stones, there can't be more. After all, the purchase price is 20 to 30% higher than the purchase price of ordinary Lingiangsao. Make a deal. He Guanxi quickly handed over the spirit stones exchanged for 15 Lingiangsao to Lu Zan, a total of 51 spirit stones and 80 broken spirits. Including the remaining 3 spirit stones, the net worth rose to nearly 55 spirit stones. Boy Lu, if there are spirit fireflies of this quality in the future, remember to send them to me. The price will definitely not disappoint you. Guan He looked at Lu Zan, who was piling up spirit stones on his waist, and specially instructed. If you are really talented in Lingzi, I can introduce you to a path, maybe it's your chance. Oh. Lu Zan was aroused by the thin old man's words, and looked at him curiously. It's not enough now, let's see the quality of spiritual plants you will bring in the future. Thank you, Manager He, I will often come to take care of your business in the future. Lu Zan didn't pay much attention to the chance that the old man said. After all, the appearance of the white light ball, no matter how great the chance is, it is nothing. On the contrary, it may also affect my current peaceful and simple farming life. He bid farewell to Guanxi He, and rushed home directly with a pile of spiritual stones in his waist. At first, I wanted to buy some monster meat, Ling meat to improve my life and satisfy my appetite, but when I passed by the stall, I was a little reluctant. Next month I have to pay the rent for the yard. Chapter 10 Silver Blade. The monthly rent for the Lingtian in the courtyard is 5 spirit stones, which is paid every 6 months, and the next time is less than a month away. More than half of the spirit stones in his hand will be spent soon, and there is still a period of time before the spiritual plants in the spiritual field mature. Lu Zan decided to save them for emergencies. The spirit field has been utilized to the maximum. Even if there are enough spirit stones in hand, there is no place to plant new spirit seeds after buying. He had to bring more than 50 spirit stones back home. After returning home, he closed the courtyard door tightly, almost isolated from the outside world, and devoted himself to cultivating spiritual plants. A few days passed, and the silver-white fruits on the 2 eclipse trees became more and more round and full, like round and round moons, hanging on the trees. Seeing that it is about to enter the mature stage, Lu Zan took the time to count, and there were about 42 moon eclipse fruits on the tree. According to the purchase price he knew, each moon eclipse fruit was about 1 spirit stone, with little fluctuation. Just because of his careful cultivation during this period, the quality of dozens of moon eclipse fruits is not bad. Lu Zan estimates that most of them are of good quality, and a few of them are of high quality. Little Uncle Lu, are you at home? One day, a familiar childish voice came from outside the courtyard gate. Lu Zan opened the courtyard door, and a child of about 7 years old with a thick head got in through the crack of the door. Looking at his facial features, he was almost similar to Zhang Hong, who went to explore the wilderness. It was Zhang Hong's child, named Zhang Shuyuan, who came to him from time to time because he was not much different from Lu Zan in age. I thought you weren't at home. The door is closed every day, and I haven't seen you for a long time. Zhang Shuyuan muttered something, jumped up and down in front of the grass puppet, and hugged it. Xiaosao, long time no see, I miss me. The grass puppet was strangled tightly by him. Sensing outsiders coming in the yard, it still stretched out a gray straw rope towards Lu Zan, fulfilling its duty of guarding the Lingtian. Okay, the head of the little friend who hugs you will fall off. Looking at the appearance of the grass puppet's gray weed that was about to fall off, Lu Zan smiled and said to Zhang Shuyuan, who was extremely enthusiastic. The two returned to the house. Zhang Shuyuan sat slumped on the wooden chair, staring blankly at Lingzi in the yard. Uncle Lu, you are comfortable here. You don't need to practice exercises and learn various elixir and spiritual mind knowledge. Lu Zan couldn't help but laugh, as if he saw the child who was worried about studying beside him in his previous life. By the way, your father has been away for so long, is there any news about him? He asked Zhang Shuyuan. Where is it so fast? The light journey takes half a month. However, my father is so powerful, he must be able to kill many, many monsters and bring back many, many treasures for me. Zhang Shuyuan said with longing eyes. In the heart of the young man, the figure of his father is always extraordinarily tall, as if he can withstand all wind and waves. Lu Zan nodded, chatted with the child a few more words, and then came to the Lingtian to check the growth of the Lingzi. In the spiritual field, only Lu Zan can see the progress bar, the real-time status, or the white light group that appears after maturity, so he is not worried that Zhang Shuyuan will find out the strangeness of the spiritual field. Little Uncle Lu, I see you are very busy in Lingtian, do you want me to help? Zhang Shuyuan rested for a while, seeing that Lu Zan had been busy, rolled up his sleeves, and walked to Lu Zan's side. Hey, don't move, I can do it alone. Lu Zan hurriedly stopped it, jokingly. One of the factors that affect the rewards of the light group is his participation in the planting process. If it is because of Xiaoyuan's help that the generous rewards of the light group are affected, then the loss outweighs the gain. HMPH, my mother usually asks me to help, but I still don't want to. Xiaoyuan was rejected by Lu Zan. He couldn't help but hug his chest with both fists, and snorted coldly. How many weeks have you practiced the exercises today? Can you memorize the common elixir and mines? Seeing the child lying in the spiritual field, Lu Zan had no intention of leaving, so he asked aloud. Every time he asked a question, the expression on Zhang Shuyuan's face became a bit heavy, and when Lu Zan finished speaking, he waved his hands fiercely and ran out. I will never come to your place to play again. Ha ha ha. Lu Zan laughed heartlessly. He didn't go to coax him, he knew very well that the child's temper came and went quickly, and he would come to play with him in a few days. In the next 3 days, Zhang Shuyuan did not come to the yard as expected, but Lu Zan felt at ease, cultivating Lingyingsao and Qiansong every day, watching the eclipse fruit ripen step by step. Finally, with his mind concentrated, Lu Zan realized that the 4 moon eclipse fruits were fully ripe. The 4 moon eclipse fruits are of good quality, worthy of his careful care during this time. He picked it carefully and put it in a special container. Immediately, his eyes were attracted by the 4 white light clusters suspended on the eclipse tree. On the light cluster, dots of white light flickered. Lu Zan absorbed the first one, and a thought flashed through him. Harvest an eclipse moon fruit, and get a first-grade magical weapon, the silver blade remnant. A slender object appeared in Lu Zan's hand. First-grade magic weapon. Lu Zan was startled suddenly, and carefully looked at the things in his hands. A slender thin slice, finger-thick and irregular in shape, feels cold when touched, and the edge looks extremely sharp. Lu Zan's spiritual sense controlled the slender slice, and his mind moved. The flake turned into a faintly invisible silver light, which penetrated deeply into the stone wall. The power is astonishing. It is worthy of being a first-grade magic weapon, but what does this, disabled, mean? This magic weapon is incomplete, but it seems to be very powerful when used. Lu Zan was puzzled, and looked at the remaining 3 white light clusters. Harvest an eclipse moon fruit, and get a first-grade magical weapon, the silver blade remnant. Harvest an eclipse moon fruit, and get a first-grade talisman and purification talisman. Harvest an eclipse moon fruit, and get a first-grade magical weapon, the silver blade remnant. Purity talisman can keep monks in a state of clarity for a long time, and not be confused by evil spirits. It is a very good auxiliary talisman. As for the other 2 white light clusters. Looking at the 3 silver white slices in his hand, Lu Zan was stunned for a moment. The shapes of the 3 flakes are different, but what they have in common is that they are all extremely sharp, which does not tarnish the reputation of the so-called first-grade magic weapon. Moreover, Lu Zan unexpectedly discovered that he could actually drive these 3 fragments of the split silver blade at the same time. It stands to reason that with his current spiritual knowledge of the 3rd level of Qi training, it is extremely difficult to control 3 first-grade magic weapons at the same time. Could it be said that these 3 irregular slices come from the same magic weapon, and only when all the slices are put together will it be a complete split silver blade? Comparing the edge of the sheet, Lu Zan felt that this guess was closer to reality. I just don't know how many slices are needed to piece together a complete cracked silver blade. Now I just hope that the remaining 38 moon eclipse fruits can produce as many fragments of the split silver blade as possible. Although the fragments are good to use, who would want the fragments if there is a complete one? Looking at the eclipse fruit hanging on the eclipse tree like a jade plate, Lu Zan thought in a daze.